So I've never really shot at 24 millimeters that much. I've always been more of a 35 millimeter kind of guy, or if I want to go wider than that, ultra wide, like the Rokinon 12 millimeter, which comes out to be, 18 millimeters on full frame terms. I've always felt that 24 millimeters was kind of relegated to my real estate work. I found that 24 is the perfect focal length for real estate images and the look I'm trying to get. But really that all changed when I was testing out the 32 to 64 for the GFX 50R. I found that I really loved shooting at the 32 millimeter mark, which is, the equivalent of about a 24 millimeter. And using that lens for the length of time I did, I found myself just shooting at the 32 mark all the time. I have so many great shots from that lens at that focal length. And then it kind of opened my eyes to, you know what? This field of view is awesome. It's incredible. I really like it. It's good for landscapes. It's good for documentary work. It's just a great focal length. And that got me wanting to try out the legendary 16 millimeter 1.4 for the XF mount. I say legendary because everyone talks about how great this lens is. Some people even say that it's the best lens Fujifilm make for the XF mount. I've heard a lot of hype around it. So I reached out to Fujifilm and expressed my interest in wanting to test out that lens. And, they agreed and sent it off to me. And the next day I got it in the mail. So you can imagine my disappointment when I went to open the box and I pulled out the 16 millimeter 2.8, a lens that Fujifilm had sent me by mistake, a lens that many people were thrilled about when it came out. It was a cheaper alternative, but it wasn't the lens that I was requesting. It's not the lens that I've seen hyped up a bunch and was excited about. So I'm going to be honest, pulling that out of the box, seeing, unboxing it and holding that little 2.8 was kind of a buzzkill. It was kind of disappointing. I reached out to Fujifilm, let them know that I think there was a mix-up or a mistake. They sent me the 2.8 by accident, even though I had requested the 1.4 and signed the loan agreement for the 1.4. And, they were, obviously very kind and, it was a mistake. We're sorry. We'll send the 1.4 out. And I was like, I'll just keep the 2.8 since I have it and review that as well. And I have to say, I went out that day that I got the 2.8 and started taking some images because, why not? I'm waiting on the 1.4 to get here. I'll just go shoot with this. And I was hooked. From the very first time I put it on the X-T1 and went out and shot images, I fell in love right away with this little 16 millimeter 2.8. I instantly got some shots that I was just kind of over the moon about. And, paired with the X-T1, my goodness, is it such a great lens. The size is just amazing. I love the little lens hood that comes with it. Paired with the X-T1, it's just a great combo. And when I look at the X-T1 sitting there with the 16 2.8 on it, just the usability of it and the size and how small it is incredible. I really love that. And shooting with it, the focal length with the image quality was outstanding. I was very pleasantly surprised. When Fuji sent me the 16 1.4, I was much less excited about it than I was initially because I had fallen in love with this lens after one day, really. I took the 1.4 out of the box. It's much bigger. The lens hood is much bulkier and it's just longer, and it's substantially bigger and heavier on, an X-T2 and X-T1 than the 2.8 version. And I found myself really just wanting to use the 16 2.8. There's just something about the combo of it being on the X-T1 that just lends itself to wanting to take it out. I guess because it's not obtrusive at all. It's very diminutive. And I took both lenses to the beach on vacation, and the majority of the time I went to the beach and was getting photos of my family or my son, I wanted the 16 2.8. I was outside in bright sunlight, so I didn't need a wide aperture. I was shooting at, 2.8 or f4. I'm not really trying to get an ultra shallow depth of field. I want to, I'm at the beach. I want to show some environment around me. So I wasn't concerned with that. It's weather sealed and it's a really snappy autofocuser. And it was just, a perfect combo. The X-T1 with that 16 2.8 was the perfect combo to capture these memories and to capture this time I had with my family and, my son's first trip to the beach that he can remember and is aware of what's going on. I was over the moon. I enjoyed using it so much, and the image quality is fantastic. And if you even want a little bit of shallow depth of field, you can get up close, and you can get that with this. But it was just a joy to shoot with, and like I said, I found myself reaching for this time after time, as opposed to the 16 1.4, which, is a great lens, and I'm going to have a review coming of that as well. But honestly, if I had to choose between the two, for my uses, for going with this focal length, I think I would get the 16 2.8, and I would pair it with the X-T1, and I think that would be my setup, and that would be my choice if I had to compare the two. I just think it's kind of funny because hearing everything I heard about the 1.4 version and being so excited to get that, and then being so disappointed when they sent me this by mistake, and then it turns out that I fell in love with it. Everything from the size, from the weight, from the build quality, the aperture ring is really great. It's just a perfect combination of stiffness and clickiness and smoothness. It's just a well-made lens. It's on par with all the other, like the 35 f2, the 50 f2, those sort of things. It's on par with those. But honestly, I can't say enough about this lens. It was an absolute pleasure to shoot with. I got images that I'm extremely satisfied and happy with. It really, to me, is, if you're looking at this focal length and maybe you don't need 1.4 and maybe you don't want to spend $1,000, you can get this for $400. I think it's an incredible deal all day long. And honestly, I'm thinking that since I have the GFX 50R with the 50 3.5, anytime I want that sort of focal length, I'm grabbing that over going with something like the X-T1 and the 35 f2. So what I may end up doing is selling that 35 f2 and buying a 16 2.8 to pair on the X-T1 because I loved it that much. And I really want to have a very small, light, fairly wide at 2.8, 24 millimeter equivalent field of view lens. And I think this is just perfect for that. It's perfect for what, for filling that gap that I want. I've got the 10 to 24, which is excellent for my real estate work, but honestly, it's an f4 instead of a 2.8, and it's much bigger, and it's a zoom, and I really want something that's going to pair well with the X-T1 and complement it. And this really is, it's the perfect size, it's the perfect balance, the image quality is outstanding, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So if you're looking for, this focal length, I highly recommend this lens. And, the 16 1.4 is amazing too. The image quality is outstanding. It's a really well-made lens, and it's weather resistant as well. And I'm going to have a dedicated review on that in the future. And then I think I may do a side-by-side comparison, kind of showing you the image quality and the look you're going to be able to get from either lens, and then the autofocus speed and that sort of thing. So be looking out for that as well. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the photos. I hope you enjoyed the commentary, and I will see you in the next one.